hope so too.
Welcome everybody to PinstripeChronicles podcast. I'm Tats. I'm here with Evan and Donald, and our special guest today, Pete Simonetti from the Simonetti Source. Pete, how have you been? I'm glad you hear you're doing well. For our audience that might not know, if you want to give yourself a little introduction.
Yeah, guys, Pete Simonetti, NYY News, of course, at Simonetti Source on Twitter. No, man, I'm doing good. I'm doing great. Happy to be back with you guys. It's always a good time. I see my man Evan there, got our acquisition right there, soon to be acquisition, hopefully. Already in pinstripes.
Well, it's the best way to do it. I want to lead off with the more of the in-house discussion, and that's the news that's been trickling out that Cashman is willing to give Judge a long-term contract. What are you hearing about it? Do you agree with giving him a contract? Do you think, with his injury issues, is it something they need to be wary about?
No. I mean, Judge is a guy you lock up long term. One of the main reasons is his contract's going to pay for itself. I mean, that's the main thing. When you look at it on the business side, Aaron Judge is a player who pays for himself. So the Yankees aren't going to be affected too much by whatever they give a guy like Aaron Judge. He's making them their money back. One, I mean, that's one. Two, he's a great player. I mean, let's be real about that. I understand there's fans that feel there's a little injury concern there, whatnot. But Judge is everything this team needs to build around. They got their power. I don't want to kind of go off the rails here, but you hear a lot of fans talk about, well, if you get rid of Gary, what are you going to do with his production? The Yankees have that. I mean, the Yankees have that. You don't got to worry about production. Production's also defense. And a lot of people forget that. They always think, offense, power. This guy hits more homers than other catchers or whatnot. But Aaron Judge, just to stick there, I'll be honest, I have no idea. I hate talking salaries. I have no idea what that would look like. I have no clue at all. Do I think the Yankees get it done? Yes. The reason why is because one of the things I've actually heard about recently, I talked about a couple of weeks ago, was that the Yankees are not willing necessarily to go to over $300 million on a player because they know they've got to sign Judge. And Hal Steinbrenner is a big fan of Aaron Judge. So I would not be shocked when that happens. Do I think it'll happen now? I'm not sure. Do I think it eventually does happen? Yes. I think Judge is a Yankee long-term.
You don't think Judge is going to get close to $300 million, though?
No, not at all. He shouldn't. Okay. Yeah, not at all.
I'm more concerned about the years with him than the money, to be honest. I really am.
Yeah.
I would say Brian Cashman mentioned last night before his sleep-in, whatever it was that he did, that he's going to look at maybe the numbers and towards spring training. So I think when you be looking at that around that spring training, I think the priority will be dealing with shortstop and the other moving pieces.
Well, when Andrelton Simmons is playing shortstop, you save money. You know what I
mean? So Pete, Brian Hoach said yesterday that the Yankees are looking to hire 3 pitching and 3 hitting coaches. Is that analytics going crazy? Or is that, because obviously, just in reference to your excellent interview with Kevin Kernan, I would really recommend people checking it out. It was great. He mentioned that there's a lack of teachers in the organization, especially major league level, because of Brian Cashman. Is this an answer to that, or is this analytics going crazy?
One of the things I like to do is sometimes I react quickly and then I kind of say, all right, let me give it a chance and let me look into it. The Braves last year, I think, had 13 or 14 coaches. The Giants had 16. The Yankees had 8. So I said to myself, maybe there's something to this. Now, I also tweeted last night because when I heard this, I'm like, are you kidding me? Because what has really changed in baseball since the beginning of baseball been invented? The game is played and that's it. Analytics is the big change that has happened in baseball recently. And, there's a balance and act to it. So I don't know what 3 hitting coaches do. I don't know what 5 pitching coaches do. I don't know what, can we get 3 or 4 managers? Can we get somebody next to Aaron Boone that maybe smacks him behind the head when he does something stupid? I mean, is that possible? But, all these coaches, I don't necessarily get it. Maybe I'm ignorant to how it works. Maybe I am. I don't know. I'm not a fan of all these coaches, and maybe there is something to it. Maybe these other teams have found success in it. But maybe I don't know enough about it, put it that way. So I'll try to play the not ignorant factor. Maybe I don't know enough about it.
Well, it makes no sense to me, to be honest, because you need like one voice to be, the construct of what you're teaching these players to do. And what it's going to do is you're going to have players that build different personalities with different hitting coaches.
Yep.
And if that doesn't work, people are going to get blamed.
That's a great point. That's a great point. That's one of the, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. If you have so many people in charge, to play it out, if the four of us are co-managing a team and we're telling a player, we want you to, be a little more aggressive on the bases. And then, Evan's turning around and being like, we want you to, you really don't have the footwork. I want you to go station to station. Who do they listen to?
No, you're right.
So I mean,
does
too many cheats, it could be damaging to the
do any of us
quality
trust?
production.
Do any of us trust Aaron Boone enough that he's going to be able to handle all those voices and say, no, this is the
absolutely
way?
not.
He's going to be able to direct that traffic one way? I don't think so.
No, I don't think he's proven himself at all.
As a pitcher, if you have two pitching coaches and one of them is David Cone or Matt Blake, who do you think you're going to go to more?
David Cone.
Exactly.
I mean, especially for the older guys, I think Garrett Cole. That's why when I put the information at the Yankees, and by the way, we'll see how accurate this is. My understanding was the Yankees offered 2 years, $38 million with an option after the first. So they actually threw some money at this guy. So I thought Verlander, when I first heard, I said I would never give this guy that much money. But when I heard about it, I said, I think he would actually be very good for Garrett Cole. And that's one of the reasons, too, why I'm like, go after Robbie Ray, because I really think he would make a difference for a guy like Cole, that he's not the only guy, that there's somebody else he could bounce these ideas off of that kind of have been there now and have the high pressure on them, that he wouldn't be the only guy. But, we'll see. There's a lot of questions there to ask when it comes to a guy like Cole and how maybe these pitching coaches, or I think they said they want to get another pitching coach also.
Yeah, they did. They were three. So they got Harkey, they got Blake. So looking for a supplement for them. And then we have three hitting coaches. I mean, it's too many cooks spoil the broth, but I think it's an analytics thing, man. I think they're all going to be all streamlined message. They're not going to be different message. They'll be all streamlined.
There's no denying that. It's totally because of analytics. I mean, that's guaranteed. Because again, like I always said, what is the only change? That's the only thing that's changed in baseball. The way to play the game has never changed. It's been philosophies and that's it. Now you got analytics. Now you got these numbers. You got launch angles. You got spin rates. You got all this stuff. So everybody, you got to have 4 or 5 people breaking this stuff down.
For a team like the Yankees, though, I care more about durability right now, which is why I would try to go hard after players like, Marte, Whit Merrifield, Olsen, guys like that, Simeon. I mean, those 3 guys have gone like 162 games multiple times in their career. So I don't understand why we're going to waste $300 million on a top, shortstop when you could probably get a guy like Simeon because no one's going to be looking at him. You could probably get Story for 2-3 years on a lower value contract. So I would go for that and then try to fix our outfield. You need to get someone like Reynolds. You need to get someone like Witt to play center field or Marte. Those 3 guys I would look at.
Yeah, I agree with you. When people talk about Correa and they talk about Seager, the funny thing that I always kind of have a little laugh about is Aaron Judge has developed this idea that he's injury prone, even though, you can make the argument that injuries really necessarily weren't his fault. He got hit at one time. Yeah. He dove in the outfield. All right. That, that stuff happens in baseball from the beginning of the time, but they won't tell you that since I think it's 2017 or 2018, Aaron Judge has played 45 more games than Carlos Correa has. So is Carlos, I don't hear anybody talking about, well, don't get Correa because he's injury prone, or this guy's injury prone, or he's beat up, or, he's not guaranteed. You want to guarantee all this money to a guy who may not play all these games, who may give you 120, 111. The same thing with Seager. He's been injured often. Yeah. So we want to throw all this money out because it's the sexy name. I would also not be shocked if neither one of these guys end up getting the deal they expected. Because what we also forget is when COVID happened, the owners did lose a lot of money. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say, billionaires, I feel so bad for them losing money. But at the end of the day, it's a business, and they did. Yeah. So you may not see some of these guys jumping up and down saying, oh, yeah, 350. I think the Rangers will. I predicted at beginning of the season, I think the Rangers and Detroit will spend a lot of money. Do the Yankees do it? I, again, right now say on a $300 million deal, no way in hell.
I mean,
But
do the
Pete-
Yankees spend because they have the ability to spend, or is it, we've taken the angle on the show that it's more vital that they spend their money wisely. So
Yeah, of
even if
course.
they're not giving out the big sexy contract to the player, if they're able to really just put a team together that's going to be able to work together, is more important than showing the fans that they have an open bank account.
No doubt about it. I mean, would fans be upset, for an example, if the Yankees traded for Olsen? Maybe they get a starting pitcher in that deal. We give up some of our prospect capital, but then they also go out there, they lock up Trevor Story. They please God get a decent catcher. And if that is what the offseason looks like, and maybe they add Florial as the fourth outfielder, he platoons with Hicks, is anybody really punching their head and saying this was a failure? I know I wouldn't.
You shouldn't be. I mean, we went into this offseason with multiple holes, and if we're filling at least 2 or 3 of them, you have to go into the season pretty optimistic, especially if we don't, bleed our entire farm system. If we still have guys like Volpe and Wells and Dominguez, I think, you got to be happy knowing that we have resources going into the future.
Right.
Pete, sorry, can I just say, working on the hypothesis that Hal's not going to add a $300 million contract because of Cole, because of Stanton, possibly because of Judge being re-signed, which direction would you go at shortstop in that case?
Oh, great. I'm happy you guys brought this up. To be honest with you, would I personally, so this is my team, would I give all that money to Seager or Correa? No. Off the bat, no. I think personally, my team actually, we have a chat and they asked me this. They said, who is the best shortstop available if you go by production wise over the next couple of years? And I said, well, how do you go against Semien? How do you truly sit there and not make an argument and say, well, if Marcus Semien is, even if he drops 10% in production, he's still the best guy.
Yep.
If he drops 15% in production, he's still the best guy. It's hard to make that based off of money and value. How do you make that argument? So here's what I do. I would immediately run to Trevor Story's camp and I would figure out what he would take, whether it's a 1-year, 2-year, 3-year deal, if he would take a short-term deal. And I would knock that guy's socks off on a short-term deal. And I would say, come here and win. Because here's why. The Yankees don't have athletes. People look at Trevor Story for some reason. Yankee fans love to do this. Oh, but he strikes out. Yeah, the entire team does. That doesn't stop.
All of baseball strikes out all the time.
All of baseball strikes out. So here's the thing about Trevor Story. One thing the Yankees are severely lacking that teams like the Padres were able to do and teams that are winning, the Braves are able to do, is that they have enough athletes where if they're in a crunch, they could move those guys with confidence. The Yankees don't do that. They get 12 DHs and go, we'll put DJ LeMahieu at third base because that makes sense. He's the best second baseman on the team, but we got to make room for Gleyber Torres at second. I would get Story because 2 reasons. I would not be scared to move him to third, and I also wouldn't be scared to move him to center field.
Yeah.
He's too athletic. He could do, though. That's a guy that you look at and go, there's a good chance that will work. Am I confident 100% it's going to be a great move? Is he going to be a great center fielder? Maybe not, but I think he'll be average to above average. I really do in any of those positions because that doesn't handicap your team where you don't have other positions to put him. So for me, in a business mindset and the future mindset, Trevor Story is the guy I would go for.
Yeah, I think the fact that, when you look at the Yankees and their center field depth, it's really not as deep as, when you're looking at it, once you dive into it, you realize there's a lot of holes with center field.
Yeah.
When you're using somebody like Tyler Wade in an outfield position, or you have to shift Judge to center field now and then, that tells you that that's a position that needs to be addressed this offseason. Installing Marte, one of those guys that they should be focusing on more than the big ticket shortstop.
I agree. And if you really look at what the Yankees need, right? DJ LeMahieu is not a leadoff hitter. I think even when he hits, he's still not your prototypical leadoff hitter. Starlin Marte would add something that this team hasn't had in years. And that's a real leadoff hitter. One with pop, one that can play a great center field, one that can steal bases. He does everything the top of his order needs. And the Yankees need a spark plug. They need that.
Yeah.
You know, they got the meat. They got the meat of the order. They got those guys. They're going to have Gallo back for another year. They have Stanton. They got Judge. They got the guys that are supposed to drive runs in. The problem is getting the guys that get on base. You know, for a lot of the people who even talk about DJ LeMahieu, if you look at his year, it's almost sad to say the guy led the team in hits just because we expect so much more from him, but he still led the team in hits. But he's not a leadoff guy. They need to get back to the idea of on-base percentage and steals at the top of that order. Guys that can.
But they don't value that, Pete.
They don't value it at all.
They didn't value it at all last year. When we had that winning streak, we had Allen, we had Florio. They were all stealing bases. And as soon as the Yankees got to a position where they could maybe make some maneuverability, they got rid of them all and went right back to where they were. Where it was home run, strikeout, and it led us right to 0. So they don't value it. Are they going to value it now?
Well, wasn't it pretty pathetic that Brian Cashman had the nerve to say, oh, I don't, our AAA guys that we could call up, they, they're not going to hit at this level. I mean, he said that. He said that about Ambergy. He said that about Florial. Florial just comes up. He hits 300. I think he walked more than he struck out. He was always on base every game.
Yep.
Great power to left field, which I love. When a guy could just flick the ball, flick it away, cover the outside corner, smack it to left center field in a gap, that's a keeper. That means he got strong wrist. There's not a lot of lefty guys that got strong. Exactly.
His first start.
His last game that he played, Fenway, if you guys remember, smacked the ball outside corner, just flicked his wrist out there. The ball goes flying to left center field. That rockets off this guy's bat.
Yeah.
My thing with a guy, Florial, whoever gets this kid, even if he hits 215, 220, 230, I'm not an advocate of low batting averages like some people are. I hate it. I don't find value in it like people do. He's going to hit 20 plus homers at the major leagues. I guarantee it. He's going to steal 20 plus bases if you give him a full season. Why do you want to give Aaron Hicks all that money and dump this guy somewhere? I don't understand who is doing the Italian evaluation with the Yankees. I don't get some of the guys they just move on from. Even with their Rule 5 here, I'm concerned they're going to lose guys like Steven Ridings, who throws 100 plus. He could be another Garrett Whitlock. Let's not forget that the Yankees kept Nick Nelson and Krisky over a guy like Whitlock. That's where they are. That should, if that was a decision by actually pro scouts, it would never happen.
No.
That was a pure analytic decision. No doubt about it. If that was made by pro scouts who know the players, see the players, they would have said, no way you do that. That's how I know how this organization is being ran.
Aren't there about 5 guys we could lose today? So they need to get top.
There's an Italian guy too. I always forget how to pronounce his last name. Ron Manacusio, something like that. But he is terrific. Terrific stuff. So they got 2 relief pitchers who have a very good chance. I'll put it like this. They got 2 relief pitchers who, if they don't protect, they will be on a major league club next year.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think Riddings would be one. He's a more familiar name because he had some playing time last year.
Yep.
But Riddings would be a guy that would be hard to lose. Yeah, I think
no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
We saw what he could do. He was a very formidable pitcher and filling in. But I think what they need to do is Riddings is the one guy I would focus on and making sure he's protected because he's already MLB proven that he can handle it, and he was put in high pressure situations, and he came out not perfect but pretty damn close.
He had a lot of confidence too. That's the thing I liked about him. You could tell, the stadium didn't bother him. The crowd didn't bother him. He just went and he went after guys. He attacked them.
Yeah.
He knew his fastball is good and he goes at them. And, I would never, ever spend money on a bullpen. I hate this idea that you give a bullpen guy $18 million. We're paying Aroldis Chapman $18 million next year. Why? I know I get it. I get it. The guy's an elite closer when he's on, and we're playing Zach Britton $14 million. I mean, I do not see the value in today's baseball where you could turn a Luis Heel into a 1-inning pitcher and he'd probably dominate. I mean, you got a very good shot of him, Luis Medina. I always talk about that when people say, what if they don't become starters? I always say, well, they're going to become elite bullpen guys.
Yeah.
Davy Garcia could be a very good bullpen arm. The Yankees just feel we probably got a halfway decent chance of maybe trading this guy with some sort of value now as a starter. But he could be a very good relief guy. That's why I would never, ever, 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 ever put all that money that the Yankees have committed to pen arms. And that's something you guys brought up early, and I agree with. We said that at NY News too. It's not how much money you dish out, it's how you're spending it.
Yeah.
The Yankees do a very poor job of how they allocate their funds.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
they're
then-
good. Sorry.
I was just going to say, and then they have to backtrack and trade players like Ottavino and Sessa because they don't have that money in the middle of the season when we need to make a drastic move.
Well, doesn't it tell you how bullshit Hal Steinbrenner is?
Yeah,
Why,
it does. It really does.
But that's what gets you. Where are the beat writers at? None of them say anything. Because to me, I say this, Hal, I understand where you're coming from, but then can you explain this move and this move and this move to me? That had nothing to do with salary. It had everything to do with salary.
Yeah.
So you're sitting here saying, "Oh, go ask Cashman. I told him, go out there and we'll go blowing over this tax." No, you weren't.
No.
You were not. I could tell that based off the moves you made. You said, "Go get Gallo. We'll go over." Then why did you guys add so many more additional prospects to get them to pay the salary?
Pete, Brian Cashman said last week, mission accomplished. We stayed under
Yes,
the luxury tax.
exactly.
That was the mission. It was
But you
nothing
know-
else.
Do you notice this organization contradicts itself all the time?
Constantly.
I never seen a baseball team that, for an example, even when Aaron Boone was brought back, Cashman goes, "Oh, Boone knew before he signed that we were going to move on from Nevin and guys." Then Boone comes out there, "Yeah, never would have been able to do this if I knew this." Bro, you did know. You did know. You're a weasel. You
It
don't
is a
care.
weasel.
You're happy that you have the position of manager of the New York, and God bless you. But don't act like you're something else. You're not. Everybody knows it in baseball. It's obvious now. The charade just has to go. He should come out there with a little makeup down here and look like an actual puppet and just go about his business.
Well, now he's acting like Rojas is his best friend. So it's like, what are you doing, man? You praised this Rojas guy like you didn't even backstab your best friend Nevin.
Oh, 100%.
Well, that's
backstab.
it. Because Boone said during the press conference that if he did go to bat for Nevin, he wouldn't have a job. He said that. He
Yeah.
basically intimated that. So he is. I mean, Mike Schilt, he lost his job because we protected some of the coaches that St. Louis wanted to fire, and he was like, "No, it's either I'll go with them in that case."
Yep.
And also another thing, Mike Schilt had a much better resume than Aaron Boone, right?
No doubt.
Isn't it interesting that when he got fired, no media guys went to bat for him, but when Aaron Boone's contract was up, we had Heyman, and there was
Michael
winning
Kennedy.
percentage, average winning percentage, Rucco, average
It was
win
comical.
percentage.
And I'll
It
tell you
was-
what, man. I'll
was
tell you
that-
what. I was telling
Yeah.
you guys off the air about NY News TV and what we're trying to do. That's the reason. I'm not even joking. These guys motivate me so much to have New York Yankee fans have an actual voice somewhere.
Yep.
Do I want to be, what Michael? I don't care about that. And I don't want to go into other sports. I don't want to go into other teams. We see some of these Yankee guys, they blow up, but then they I want to expand everywhere. I just want a Yankee hub because there is nobody out there that are actually working with this team every single day. Look at Lindsay Adler. She said Yankee fans, Heaney was thrown into the wolves. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that was unbelievable.
She
You're
also
a
complains
beat
about her
writer.
job like every day. She said, "Oh, I hate breaking news. It's the most stressful thing I ever have to deal with." Then get another job. It's the
Get
most
another job.
That's
You know
what
how
we
many-
do this for.
know how
Is
many
to break
women-
the news as we see it.
Guys, I have seen so many females talk sports on Twitter that would love to have her job.
Yep.
Like, what are you doing? Like, but this is the beat writers. I remember they asked Higashioka came out. I think he had a game-winning hit that day or something like that. And this is once he came back, I think, from COVID. And I think it was Adler or one of them asked him, "So who's the one that's unvaccinated, you or Judge?" And he's like, "I'm not talking about this. Like, I just had a big hit in this game. Why are we asking these questions? Like, what is going on with baseball that our reporters, they just don't report?" And Kevin Kernan in the interview made a lot of good points about that. He said that, they're not allowed anymore into the clubhouse.
Yeah.
So that could affect it. And then the Yankees, Jason Zillow basically is picking and choosing what you ask, and that's it. You get your one question, you're done. You don't get to go back and forth.
There we go.
You
I
don't
was
get to go
wondering
back and
that.
forth anymore. So, I know Brian Hoke tried to do it that one day when he said something about Boone, and Boone was like, "Oh, get out of here." But he didn't allow him to follow up. So there was no chance to keep
For
his
him to
back on the
reiterate
wall.
the question. Yeah.
Exactly. Because, in the situation, I always say that with a guy like Boone, he's the easiest guy to question. because he's just so bad at doing conferences. You're just like, yeah, Aaron, you've been turning the corner now for 3 years. Seriously, at what point do you finally, honestly, just become a manager? And even like after games, I mean, if I had a chance to ask one question, I would simply say, when he said that one time, I think it was October 3rd, second or last game of the season, when Glaber strikes out and he walks to first base, and nobody, what's his name at first base coach? Willits. Willits turns his back to him and walks away. Nobody talks to him, but Aaron Judge and Gardner come over and talk to him. Yeah. And I'm sitting there saying, and after the game's over, Boone tells the media he was very upset about this. He felt bad about it. Yeah, Aaron, question for you. This is about the 14th time this year we're having this conversation with you. Your response that he feels bad about it, what are you as the manager doing about it?
Yep.
What have you as the manager done all year long to get this team to run bases? We've seen it all year. Matter of fact, I'll go even further than that. We've seen it since 2018.
Well, we have said multiple times, we've seen guys like Cole and Gardner, Judge to an extent. They've interacted and worked with their own teammates more than the coaching staff.
No doubt.
And that's a problem. Yes, you want to be able to lean on your teammates for support. But if the pitch is being talked to by Cole while Judge has his leg on the step blowing bubbles, then what do you need Boone for? He's not doing anything.
Well, remember, Rizzo comes over and he goes to Gallo and go, "Hey man, crowd the plate." You mean Tim's was never able to say, "Hey, you have trouble reaching outside pitches. Maybe if you crowd the plate a little bit, you'll have a shot of doing that." It took Anthony Rizzo to come here and go, "Hey, Gallo, Italian to Italian here. Crowd that plate a little bit, buddy." It's worked for me. If they throw inside, see, okay, I get hit a little bit, but we're major league guys. We can handle it. Crowd that plate a little bit. Throw some protection on if you need it. Crowd that plate a little bit. You'll get to that outside. And you got a lot of power. You hit the ball anywhere. And I mean, it looked like it made a little bit of a difference for him, but it's just funny, like you guys are saying that, what are these coaches doing? If you guys remember that interview with Marcus Timms, that the Yankees seemed like they wanted to scrub immediately because you couldn't find it after it came out. When he said, well, what I do is I go to Glaber Torres and I look at him and say, "You are great. You are our shortstop. We don't have another option. You are the best." That's a direct quote. I'm not even lying. You can find that. That's exactly what he said. We don't look at video too much on it. We just tell him that he's the best and he's our only option.
You're hurting my head right now, Pete. You are hurting my head. I don't want to hear this.
That's terrible.
Evan, I want you to look it up, find it, and go crazy about it for a little while.
You just want to ruin my whole week, my month? What are you trying to do here, buddy?
Well,
I'm going to make you feel worse right now. 3 years plus an option for Unicornios himself, Pete. Our show, your show, we've been going to town on Aaron Boone for an entire year. Please tell me your thoughts. Was that a troll job?
I don't even know what to say. You know what's even worse is that they were going to re-sign him in 2020 if it wasn't for COVID. Mm-hmm. So, they had every intention at all of Boone was coming back. And it's funny because we did a wild card stream. And as the game was obviously slipping away and the Yankees looked like they were at a funeral in the second inning, I remember telling my team, I said, "Well, guys, you guys know how bad I dislike this guy, but in reality, he's coming back." And my team's like, "There's no way." I said, "Guys, he's coming back.
Yep.
There's no way in hell."
As soon as they stayed above 500, we said he's coming back.
Yep.
I mean, we discussed the whole thing. We knew if he didn't drastically lose the rest of the season, having us miss the playoffs, there was no chance in hell they weren't going to renew him, which is why Cashman went on full throttle mode at the deadline and was able to get us Rizzo. Without Rizzo, things might have been drastically different.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And it's just bad because the fans know. I mean, that's what bothers me so much. It really does. And that's why I'm happy we have, people succeeding. I've had my back and forths with John Boy and those guys, but, they succeeded. And that's good because that gives other people hope that they can do the same thing. And, you got a lot of good voices out there on social media now that spread messages. But you need other voices outside of the media Because if you leave it up to the media, we seen what they did with Aaron Boone. Apparently, he was Jesus Christ reincarnated. I mean, that's what they were pressing, that this is the greatest manager in sports. He is the greatest guy out there, to the fact of the Padres wanted him so bad that they interviewed Ozzie Guillen, who is completely different than Aaron Boone. Bob Melvin, who is known to be completely different than Aaron Boone because he's hard-nosed. So I don't believe the Padres really wanted Aaron Boone.
No, that was a smokescreen, and we all saw that.
Guys, I talked to Glendon Rush. I've talked to Kevin Kernan. I've spoken to former players that know the Boone family very well. They'll tell you the same thing. Aaron Boone and his family know baseball. They're hard-nosed baseball guys. The Aaron Boone you see is not what Aaron Boone truly wants to do. But here's my response to them when they tell me that. I tell them this all the time. Then the guy has no pride whatsoever in his family name, because there's no way I could accept money and just be like, oh no, I'll do whatever you guys want because I'm happy in this position. There is no way in hell I could do that. I can't do it.
He didn't just accept money, he accepted it twice. So you're telling me that he had no pride in himself twice, which is really, really bad. And we can sit here and basically say that Cashman is pulling the strings. So that means any managerial record that Boone has belongs to Cashman. So Cashman's the one that gets all those wins. Should get manager of the year if Boone ever does anything. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I've always agreed that the Boone baseball family, they're smart baseball minds. They do know what they're talking about. And I used to respect Boone. But if you're going to come in here and be a puppet and be comfortable with that fact and let your friend go away, first off, I shouldn't even know that Phil Nevin's one of his best friends. But I do. And now I know that you backstabbed him. And that's an issue for me.
Well, it's like, when you're a nice guy, nobody could bash you. If you notice, every time they talk about Boone, they start with that.
Yeah.
Because you know why they do it? Because now if you got something to say, oh, you're bad. You're the bad man. You can't talk about a good man that way. How dare you? He's known around baseball as a nice guy. Same thing when I got so mad at Ryan Rook when I went back and forth with him, because he talked about the Nevin play and he starts off with, well, first of all, it's really hard to criticize such a nice guy. I mean, he's a great guy. And I'm sitting there saying, what the hell does that matter?
I'm a nice guy. Evan criticizes me every day.
I consider myself a nice guy. I get bashed all the time. I mean, I don't know. I don't understand, why we live in a society now where you can just go, oh, I'm a nice guy, so I'm not entitled to be criticized.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't get it. I don't understand.
Sorry, but I call bullshit on that. Everybody in every job and every position has to be acceptable to the criticism.
That's right.
That comes with being a professional.
Tess, how do you learn without criticism?
You don't.
Exactly.
You can't. So they're taking away the ability to be critical of anything. So that just means everything in this world is wonderful and magnificent and beautiful. That's not the case. You need to analyze the problems so that you can find the solutions.
That's right.
But here's what concerns me, because Bob Klapisch said in his article that the analytics guys who are basically running the organization had issues with the way Aaron Boone managed last year. 1. 2, they've already linked the fact they're looking for a yin to Aaron Boone's gang because they've basically admitted he's not capable of handling locker room.
Skim milk. Skim milk. That's it. The skim milk for his unicornios. That's the yin to his gang. So
when you got those two things, and so when you look at those two things, and they've given him 3 years plus an option, even though they basically admitted that there's some issues with the way that he manages, I mean, what do you say to that? Is that like a finesse from the agent, or is that the fact that the Yankees know that he's not a very good manager, but he's exactly what they're looking for?
That's exactly what it is. And you know what's funny? People are very upset with Bob Klapisch. You notice that, right? Yankees Twitter, they get very offended. Oh my God. How dare that Brett Gardner, who's been here since 2009. Now he's the cancer? Brett Gardner's the cancer? You may dislike the guy for his production on the field right now because he's at the end of his career. But Brett Gardner's the cancer because he tried to liven an environment, and all of us, he has to go because how dare he? Maybe let me throw something crazy out there. Maybe Garrett Cole was upset because he was guilty. Maybe it bothered him because there's a lot of guilt there. And he doesn't know if he could be the same guy who bought this contract. People get so mad when I said that, but is that not a fair opinion?
I think it is, because if you look at who Garrett Cole is, and I say this softly, he seems like the type of person that's so serious about his craft that he can't laugh at himself.
Right.
And I feel like when you say the guilty thing, yeah, he was probably, getting ragged on by Brett Gardner, who's like he's a fun guy who's just trying to lighten the mood and stuff. And he probably didn't see it that way, which is why it turned into something that it didn't. We've seen how he mishandled the entire press conference after the spider tack. So I think he was just highly embarrassed, backed into a corner, and went the route he went because he was nervous.
Yeah, I actually thought that it was a bad optic, and it showed that there's really a lack of camaraderie in the locker room, that story even came out.
Yeah.
That should have been something that was just, shaken off that day and never spoken of again.
Well,
So
that's former coaches, though. That's 100% former coaches who put some of that information out there. But even, I'm a huge fan of Garrett Cole. Anybody who has followed me for a while knows. I mean, I was super big on this. It's funny because I would say there's 3 names I was super big on the Yankees getting for a long, long time. Garrett Cole, which the Yankees got, Patrick Corbin, who they missed out on, and Robbie Ray, who everybody told me was the worst pitcher in baseball when I was begging the Yankees to get him. And now he's a Cy Young winner. So, just with Garrett Cole, I hope I'm wrong. And I hope Garrett Cole is a very good pitcher. I believe he is. I think Garrett Cole is smart enough to adjust if he needs to and still be one of the most dominating guys in baseball. I'm not taking that away from him. I think baseball will make a change with the ball too, where pitchers do have a little bit of an advantage or something. So there was that rumor about that Japanese ball that's used is a little smaller, but it's naturally sticky. And pitchers apparently love it. So they're trying to apparently work on prototypes of their own version of that and what that will actually be like. So I could see that happening. But no, I agree with what you said with the camaraderie in the locker room. But here, going back to this again, this is all leadership.
Yep.
One of the things that fans got mad about, right, is that how do we have Gary Sanchez sitting in a playoff game? Well, let me tell you why we have that. One, you don't have a leader in the clubhouse. You don't have a manager who early on said, Gary, come here, work this shit out. Work it out. That never happened. I guarantee that never happened.
No.
Because how it worked was, and folks, just so you guys know if you're listening, there's nothing wrong with a starting pitcher being comfortable with a catcher. There's nothing wrong. That's from the beginning of baseball.
Yep.
Comfort. It's a comfort feel. It's a thing. It's a feel. But when you got such a good hitting catcher, I don't even want to say such a good hit, but a guy that could run into a ball every now and then, the manager could work that out early and go, no, guys, we got to get this to work. We got to make this work. Put them together, do certain things to make it work, whatever it is. Managers have an effect on that. So even with the clubhouse situations and this and that, there's obviously something wrong with the Yankees. You don't got to be a genius to know this. There is something wrong in that clubhouse.
Yeah, and it happened early too, because if you look at the situation with Garrett Cole and Gary Sanchez, that started last year after about, 3 or 4 starts into the season in the 60-game season, and it continued this year. And I think we had the same issue with Clint Frazier. They announced him as the left fielder 8 games into the season. He's no longer the left fielder.
Yeah.
That's the organization. That's not the players.
No, not at all. Not at all. And it's the whole last year, I think, told you so much about the Yankees, about who they are as an organization. I mean, there was even the rumors early on that they were so serious about staying under the tax that's why they weren't calling players up, because they got to give them the $500,000 minimum if they call them up. That was actually a rumor during the year. That's why you didn't see them do that.
Go lose it again.
And remember, look at when they got Odor. Why did they get Odor? He was free. Yeah. He was free. He was free. Another team said, take him. We'll pay him. No big deal. Take him. And Brian Cashman said, oh, yeah, he can hit a homer every now and then. Let's go. We'll play him at third base. Never played there before. We'll make it work. This is the organization.
Thank God for Rizzo, because Rizzo had the smart enough. He was smart enough to be able to tell him, look,
just throw it.
Just throw it in my direction. I got you back.
That's right.
Which is why I think that a lot of Yankee fans are much higher on Rizzo than Olsen, because one, Rizzo's already shown he could do it in New York.
Right.
'Cause New York, as much as they say, well, if you can play, if you're a major league, if you're a professional athlete, you can play anywhere.
Yep.
New York is different.
My only problem with Rizzo, and I'll let Pete talk after this, is the fact that it's going to cost some money to get him, whereas Olsen is going to be a controllable starter. He's 26, and we can trade off pieces to get him. So I'm more comfortable doing that, knowing that the money can then go balanced into getting Marte and Story. I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that. I think if you're going to look at it as trajectory down down a couple of years, I think Olsen obviously is the one you go with, right? That says he's a better player. I think Rizzo, I wouldn't be upset if the Yankees came out right now and re-signed Anthony Rizzo. You wouldn't see me saying, damn it, they're not going to get Olsen. It's a good move. It's a good move now, but it depends on what else you do. That's why Olsen, most people are saying they got to get Matt Olsen. Because if you're going to, so let's look at it in the reality of what I actually believe is the case. And again, I have this verified by a lot of people, and now more people are coming out and saying the same thing. If they're not going to spend $300+ million on a player, maybe they don't want to add a ton to salary. How do you not? What is your excuse to the fan base that you didn't get Matt Olsen? Well, they were only asking for Dominguez. Okay, well then negotiate. Are they adding Manaea? Are they adding Bassett? Because let me tell you right now, I'd give Dominguez for them.
100% in a heartbeat.
This is the problem. And this is young baseball. None of us in here are under 20. This is the young mindset of baseball. We don't care about the win now. Maybe we'll win. But when Jason Dominguez gets here in 4 years, we're going to be terrific. That's the mindset. And it's bad. And that is not the way a major league team runs. But major league teams are falling for this because the fan base loves it. The fan base will eat it up. The fan base will go, we didn't get Matt Olsen. You want to know why, guys? Wink, wink. They wanted Dominguez, and how dare they ask for him? So you guys understand why we did it. And Yankee Twitter is going to say, I wouldn't have done it either.
No, and that's going to be an issue too, especially if Dominguez doesn't hit the expected ceiling that all these fans have blown up his butt with. Because honestly,
Mike Trout.
Yeah, I was going to say he's the next Mike Trout.
Honestly, I think he's going to be what Reynolds is. And if that's the case, you trade for Reynolds by using Dominguez. It's not that hard to understand why that move makes sense.
So let me, if you don't mind real quick, I know there may not be Pirates fans listening here. I have some really good friends in Pittsburgh that know this team top to bottom. That's why when they traded for, oh my God, I forget his name. Holmes. When they traded for Holmes, I immediately said, let me message somebody, see what they tell me. They said, Pete, you guys got to steal.
Yep.
They said, if this guy learns any type of command or does different pitch sequences, you guys got an elite reliever. I said, no, really? He said, yes. He throws 90 plus. He has the best sinker in baseball. This guy is a steal. And I said, damn, that was a great deal for Cashman. And I remember putting that out there because at first I was like, oh, okay, who the hell's Holmes? Look at his ERA. But then I got this information. Here's the thing about the Pirates that people don't get. The Pirates have some of the best crop of young players in Major League Baseball. They got Brian Hayes. They got O'Neill Cruz. They got Reynolds. They got a young second baseman, Nick Gonzalez. They got outfielder Peguero. They got pitching. They got Rosny Contreras, who we gave up, who I think could be legitimately good. They got Quinn Priester.
Yeah.
Davis, their new catcher they just got.
Yeah.
Why would they not want to add a guy like Jason Dominguez? He fits, to be honest, he actually fits their profile more than he fits the Yankees profile.
100%.
Their win in the next 2 to 3 to 4 years is where their trajectory is going, and they don't have the money. So Reynolds is probably not going to be a part of that. So if I'm the Yankees, I go to them and say, look, I'm going to give you a list of 10 guys. You choose 4 or 5 and we'll have a conversation. And you better believe a name on there is going to be Luis Gil, Jason Dominguez, those top guys. Volpe is the only guy I'm a little bit hesitant about dealing.
Yeah, I don't want to deal
with
with
I was actually my last question for you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, my last question for you that you brought that up was, is there a player in our system that for you is an off limits piece?
Volpe. He's the only guy that I'll be very hesitant, and I'll tell you why. People just see his numbers and they go, man, this guy's good. But it's everything else. It's this. It's the mindset.
Yeah.
It's the baseball IQ. It's the fact that every teammate tells you about this kid that he's never happy with what he does. He always wants to get better. He feels he can improve on the years he had last year. And those are the things I love, the intangibles that you don't teach. He has all of it. He has all of it.
I saw an interview with him out right when he graduated high school, and I thought this young man is very intelligent and very mature for his age, and he's
no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And everything you hear about him is exactly that. So for me, but you don't have to give him up to make deals. And that's what I hope the excuse doesn't end up being, because I'm not going to believe it. Matt Olson is likely going to be traded. Who's beating the Yankees in offers, if you really think about it? Yeah, you got the Brewers maybe who can make a good deal. Maybe the Mariners just knock their socks off. They got great prospects. But who can offer a good package to a team that's going to say, hey, look, you guys, you're rebuilding, but hey, we could throw you 2 guys that could jump into your rotation right now. We could throw you a guy who's a center fielder who can make up for some power. We could do all that.
Right.
We have a lot of things that we can actually do. Another thing, guys, I'll tell you what. If this is my Yankee team, Gleyber Torres is not on it.
Well, that was my question to you, because obviously Torres, Sanchez, and Hicks are the 3 most coddled guys in the organization. What are you hearing about the futures of these 3 going into next year?
That they'll all be back.
Oh, God. Really?
You hear the little rumors about Sanchez a little bit. Hicks is coming back. Hicks might have a platoon partner. That's the best case scenario. Gleyber, I would fall off my chair if the Yankees ever traded Gleyber Torres. Should they? 100%. And the thing is that cracks me up is you got the same fan reaction. Oh, but what if he goes this place and does great? Yeah, he probably will, and good for him.
Who cares?
It doesn't exactly. Who cares? Because somebody told me recently, but the production of Gary Sanchez. Oh, I don't know what production you're talking about. The production of Gary Sanchez. They always talk about this. God forbid you got to make up the production. Well, one, Joey Gallo does that already because he's going to pop the homers and bat low. So there goes your Gary Sanchez, but he walks a lot more. So he's a better player, and he runs and he can actually move and he's in shape. He's a good guy.
He's agile. Yeah.
He's agile. Gary Sanchez, on the other hand, if I'm a National League club and I have any idea that there's going to be a DH, I would be all over trading for Gary Sanchez.
Yep.
I would call the Yankees up myself and say, hey, guys, what is it going to take Gary Sanchez off your hands? We'll take the entire arbitration. Let us deal with it. What does it look like? And look, think about it. If you're a team like the Nationals, who are now going to be rebuilding a little bit, why not take the risk and trade him at the deadline if he ends up doing what he could do, which is hit?
Yeah, I was also going to mention the Cubs because they got rid of a player like Kyle Schwarber because they didn't have a spot for him anymore. Well, Sanchez is kind of like that, so they could bring him back in for that DH role.
Great option, but I'll tell you right now, and it would not shock me one bit if Sanchez is the Yankee catcher in 2022. And if he is, I don't care what else they do. It's going to be a bad offseason for me.
Of course. But what happens to DJ LeMahieu then if Torres plays second base? Because Cashman already said that DJ is a much better second baseman than anywhere.
Third, and then you get rid of Gio.
I mean, but how do you put him at you're putting a guy again out of position. It's not his best position.
Right. I don't
his second best position. His second best position, since we want to talk analytics all the time, is first base.
Yes, 100%.
That's his second best position based off analytic wise.
That's why Torres is the odd man out.
And he really is. And I mean, I don't see a scenario where you talk to Oakland and you say, hey, Olsen is cool. We're willing in that, but we need a starting pitcher too. Who do you want? Any one of them.
And they are.
I'll leave you guys to make that decision. Bassett, Montez, whoever you guys want to give us. We'll discuss it. We'll throw on the table the offer we already had. Maybe we'll take a guy off, but we're going to throw in Gleyber Torres. I don't see Billy Beane going, no way. Because Gleyber Torres maybe makes up a ton of that production that you just lost. You never know. Yeah. And you could leave him at second base. You could let him relax. You could let him be who he is. And you go with it. You maybe rebuild around a guy like him. He has multiple years available. But I don't see why the Yankees feel like we're losing something when you're supposed to be a win-now team. A win-now team that got Gleyber Torres and DJ LeMahieu on the same roster. DJ LeMahieu is your second baseman.
Yep.
Yeah. Would it
That's the
make
only way that
sense?
the Yankees are going to be able to be successful is if they put people where they belong on the field.
Right.
Would it make
Common sense.
sense for Cincinnati to call us back on a Torres Castillo trade if you added, say, Gil, Medina, or Gomez? Would that work, or still not enough to move the needle?
They would probably want more, just because they're going to try to capitalize as much as they can on a deal like that. But why not? And that's the funny thing. You hear, you don't really know what to believe anymore when Brian Cashman talks. You don't know what to believe because he's mastered the. I could get it. First of all, the media is not going to call me out. The fan base buys it. So why change anything? Why change anything? I'll keep doing what I do. So for him, if you go out there and you go, we're looking at a few different things. Everybody's like, so we're getting everybody. Oh, great. In reality, he talked to the agent of Andrelton Simmons to see what it would take. That's reality. That's probably reality. Is that what the fan base thinks from what he says is usually not what Brian Cashman does. He's always been that way. So do I believe that Gleyber Torres will be at second base? Yes. Would I trade Gleyber Torres this offseason? 100%.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to add one more question for you. And I'm going to ask this one for Rob that he couldn't make it. He had the idea that signing, a Simmons or a VR for shortstop on a 1 or 2 year deal to give a little time for Volpe to develop a little more and have him as your future shortstop. You think that's another way that, that's a way that they can go as well to be able to distribute money to other positions?
Yes. But see, if you go that way, you have to distribute to other positions. That's the concern, is that the Yankees will end up going that way and making one move and going, we're better. That's the concern, is that now if you told me right now, Simmons is our shortstop, but then you also go, we also get Marte and Ray, and we get a catcher who maybe they trade for Jacob Stallings, who I would kill for. I would kill for this team to get Jacob Stallings. And it wouldn't even cost a lot to get him. If you told me that, then yeah, of course, why not? Who's going to care? I don't think Yankee fans will be upset. Get a defensive shortstop. We don't need that production. That's the problem. Too many people are focused on you're going to miss production from this guy or that guy, but they got everybody to give production. The Yankees' problem last year was guys didn't play the way they were supposed to play. There was no discipline whatsoever to even get on anybody's back to maybe make them work a little harder. There was none of that whatsoever. And then the lineup was a train wreck all year. Look at the wild card game lineup. It was maybe the most disgraceful thing I've ever seen. I remember I tweeted. I said, man, Boone's throwing the white flag in early, isn't he?
Yep. I remember
Joey
that.
Gallo cleaning up. Oh my God.
Bro, if you watch my live on the wild card game, I started off, I said flat out, if Eduardo Rodriguez gets through 1 through 4, Evaldi. If Evaldi gets through 1 through 4, 5 through 9 is done. That's it. The game's over. That's all he has to do. And that's exactly what he did. I think by like the 8th inning or something, 5 through 9 was like 1 for 18. And I was like, this was so predictable.
What are you hearing about today's roster deadline? What can you expect?
No, I think you'll see action. I mean, obviously, you got to see action. I think Andujar ends up going. I hope a team trades for him or we get something for him. But I do expect Andujar to be gone. I think Clint Frazier is actually going to be released.
Non-tendered, right?
I think he'll be non-tendered. Okay. I do think he'll be non-tendered.
I've been thinking for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Clint Frazier.
You said Andujar as well might be a non-tender.
I could see that too. I could see both of them being non-tendered. Maybe we get a trade. Maybe. We'll see.
Question for you, Pete. Do you think Andujar in this moment has more value than Clint simply because of the concussion and head injuries to Clint?
Yeah. And here's another thing. Another thing too, if you're a National League club, would you not look to get Miguel Andujar to DH? If you're lacking production? Let's not,
that's considering that the DH is implemented to the National League.
Yeah, exactly. If that actually does go through, which a lot of people say is one of the only guarantees they feel like will actually happen, or something they're actually agreeing upon. But if you have an idea that that's going to happen, I mean, I have no concern of Miguel Andujar being a major league hitter. I just have concern of where I play him.
Yeah,
it's always been the case.
Andujar turned into the twin of a Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah.
You know, he's got the ability at the plate. It's just where do you play him? And
You have no way to play him.
Exactly.
None at all. But again, for teams that are rebuilding or trying to get some value in a guy you could potentially flip later, him, Sanchez, Voit, all of these guys make loads of sense. If I'm the Milwaukee Brewers, I'm all over a guy like Luke Voit. Imagine he bounces back 30 plus. I mean, with that team, come on. I mean, that is a genius move to go after a guy like Luke Voit.
Would Pittsburgh be interested in Voit or no, not at all?
I could somewhat see that again too. It just doesn't feel like a Charrington move to me.
Got it. Yeah.
Well, Pete, we really do appreciate you coming on with us today. We do want you to come back because the one topic that it was very hard for me not to bring up was the CBA. And once that comes into effect, I'd love to have you back on with us to,
of course,
break that down. And, you know, obviously any other Yankee news that is happening throughout the offseason. And
thanks so much for coming on, man. It's always a pleasure. Could you tell our listeners and our viewers about some of the exciting things that are happening for yourself and NYY News?
Yeah, man. So NYY News in January, we're launching NYY News TV, which is going to be on the same YouTube channel. That's not changing. The only thing changing is we will have 5 podcasts running weekly, all different voices that you guys already know, voices you guys are already aware of, live pre-games, live post-games, live chats normally, videos still, as we always do. But basically, we're looking for this thing to truly be a hub for Yankee fans, to come in, enjoy, talk. You guys see my live chats. I try to answer every question I can. I try to make the fans always a voice in the chats. We're going to have trivia things for members when we eventually get there. Giveaways. The merchandise is looking amazing that we got coming out. All the names that will be joining will be announced mid-December. We're filming in December a trailer for the channel to do the launch middle of December. So I would say maybe the 14th, 15th, 16th, everybody will have an idea of what the channel is going to look like and who's going to be joining. So yeah, NYY News right now, the Simonetti source is the page. Go subscribe if you have not. Subscriptions have gone increasingly high.
Yeah, we're going to put the link to your channel in the description on this video. Yeah,
greatly appreciate it. But it's going to be a terrific place for Yankee fans to come join and really just get tons and tons of content and tons of different opinions. So it's going to be a terrific place to be.
Yeah,
I can confirm. Pete does comment on all of his live chats. He responds to pretty much everyone. He responds to me all the time. So it really is a fun experience. So if you get a chance, go to the live chats for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's going to wrap things up for us today for Pinstripe Chronicles and Simonetti Source. Thank you again. Just remember, like, share, comment, and subscribe. Check out our social medias in the description. Pete's will be there as well again as the link to his YouTube channel in New York, NYY News. And
they got there.
Remember, I almost had it completely done.
Oh, man.
Just remember where your pinstripes.
Wrap it up, Tats.
Where your pinstripes for pride and play hard.
Thanks for listening.
That's